Hi, welcome back to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severin. I'm so glad you could join me again this week and hope you're having a good week. And today we're going to start a new painting, which is exciting. But before I do that, I want to kind of go through a couple of things. It's exciting because it was a year ago this week that I recorded the very first taping here at CCTV, the little pilot show, to start this series. So we've been at this a year now, and it has been amazing what's come of this little program. So I'd like to thank those of you that have watched me from the beginning. Some of you are new to watching me, and my sponsors have been just awesome, and the people that have encouraged me to continue this dream and this pursuit. It's been a real honor to meet a lot of you and to have you a part of my life. And so with that, let's start a new painting. Get this show rolling for today. So what we've got is our basic 16 by 20 canvas that we've got here, stretch canvas. And I'll go through quickly what paints we're going to be using tonight. And so if you want to join me in the process, you're more than welcome to. So we start out, we've got cad yellow here. We've got some cad orange, our titanium white, some burnt sienna. We've got some cad red that I threw on here. We've got some cobalt blue, some turquoise blue. I've got Payne's gray on there, and our dioxazine purple, and a little bit of alizarin crimson over here on the other side. So what I thought I'd do tonight is this is kind of based off of a painting that one of my students brought in that I thought was kind of nice and might be of interest to some of you, how to paint it. And what we'll do is we'll do a nice, beautiful either sunrise or sunset up here. Maybe this little strip of land that's across towards the center portion, and it'll have some bushes and a couple of big trees. And then the foreground here will be a real still water, and it'll be reflective of both the sky as well as that land mass that's there in between. And so we're just going to jump right in. I'm just going to grab with my 3-inch brush some of the titanium white, and I'm just kind of loading that brush up. And I am not going to, if you have watched the show very many times, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I'm just going to slap some paint up here, at least initially, and then we'll start developing it. So we'll kind of put that land mass, well, just for a reference point, we'll just say that land mass is going to be somewhere right across here. So I just grabbed in some purple just to show where that was going to be, and we'll throw in some white down here. And every one of these that you do is going to be a little different. Yours is going to be different than the one that I do here, but you know, that's the part of this that's magical in a lot of ways, is just watching how the paint works on the canvas, and each time you do it, you kind of get a little different effect, and it's just really fun, I think, to watch it develop. So we've got just kind of some white that we've slapped on here, both up above and down below. So I'm going to grab just a tinge of that. I don't want this real blue, but I'm going to grab some of that turquoise, and I'm just going to bring in just a little bit of that up here at the top, maybe bring it down the side a little in the corners. And then we'll do the exact same thing down below here. Now, a lot of times people get really stressed when they start trying to do reflections, and when my friend Patty that was doing the lessons and painting this picture, it was a little frustrating for her, and in some ways, and I just thought, oh, this would be a really good opportunity to kind of show how that's done. So what I did was I haven't cleaned my brush yet. I've got grabbed some alizarin crimson, a little bit of the dioxazine purple, and we'll just throw that in here. And that's it's pretty strong, a little stronger than what I really want. So I'm going to wipe the excess off, and we're just going to use that. We're just going to spread it around several different places. Now, because I got this very strong up here, I want to take and put that pretty strong down below here as well. So, you know, anything that you do up above, you want to try to mirror that down below. And so I'm just kind of just catching some of those, just like we have up above, we have down below. As you can see, I'm not taking a whole lot of time here with this. I'm just basically just using it, painting it almost like you would like with a house or something if you wanted with the brush. I'm not really doing any fancy strokes or anything. I'm just kind of blending that out just a little bit, just to soften it. This looks pretty good. And I'll wipe the excess off of my brush there. And I'm going to grab some of that Cad red, and we're just going to put in just a nice band across there. And of course, anything we do above, we're going to do down below. So we'll go right across here with another band of that red. And maybe work that up just a little bit into those lavenders. That's pretty good. And I'll just wipe the excess of that out, and I'll grab some of that Cad orange. And we're gonna maybe add in just a little bit of the Cad yellow, kind of double load up my brush with Cad yellow and that Cad orange on there. And I'm gonna go right below that red with a band of that little lighter orange. So I've got that orange as well as that Cad yellow on there, and I'll do the same thing down below here. That looks really nice. And maybe we'll just bring in just a little bit of that orange up above here into those lavenders. There's a few spots here and there. Doesn't have to be a lot. And we'll go just grabbing just straight Cad yellow. Now it's obviously not just straight Cad yellow because still got that orange and all the other colors in there, but I want kind of more of a pure yellow across the bottom here. And then across here is the same way. And I'm just taking, you can see I'm not doing anything that's fancy here. It's nothing that you can't do at home, and I would encourage you to try it. It's really fun. It's something that I believe anybody can do, and I believe that it really will make your life better if you will just take some risks and try some of this for yourself. I think you might find that you like it a lot, and you want to do more of it. The gal that I was talking about, Patty, that painted this in her lessons, she had never painted. I'm just grabbing Cad yellow and I'm just putting in some highlights on maybe some bottoms of these clouds a little bit. She had never painted before she started doing the lessons. She had never painted at all, and she found that she absolutely loved it. It brought her a lot of kind of relieved some of the stress from her job and her daily life, and fact, she got to the point that she went out and bought all of her own paints and easel and brushes, and now she's just doing it for the fun of it, which, you know, that's the joy of this, is learning how to do it and using that for your own benefit to make you feel better about yourself. I'm grabbing some more lavenders. I want to make this a little more of that mauve-y, maybe than what it is. And I'm going to do the same thing up above. I just have a little too orange and yellow. I want to bring that in a little bit more of that. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of that purple and the alizarin crimson again. Working it into the bristles real well. And then just maybe we'll just take and maybe fluff those up, like there may be some little floater clouds that are just kind of floating around up there, having a good time on this beautiful, we're gonna call this a sunrise. And I'm just taking and just lifting up a little bit of the top of that just to soften it a little bit. Just little round strokes, as you can see. And I'm just using the corner of my brush. I'm not using the full brush, just parts of it. And then I'm going to grab some of that, just that titanium white, and I'm going to just maybe do the same thing up here, maybe with a little more of a fluffy cloud. He's a little closer to us, so he's going to be a little bigger. And the nice thing with this process is that, you know, at any point you go, man, I'm not sure I really like that very well. I'll show you what you do. Just take that brush. Let's say I don't like that cloud I just put on there. I can just take and wipe it right off. Just like that, it's gone. And I can just come back in now. And in fact, I'll just switch brushes, say, oh, that was the wrong brush for that. So grab another brush and we'll go back in, do the same thing. Grabbing that titanium white. This is just a 1/2 or a 1-inch brush here. And you go, yeah, I like that better. That's more the effect I was looking for. You know, don't be afraid. You're not gonna make a mistake. So, you know, if something happens on the canvas that you don't like, just take and wipe it off and start again. Or you can let it dry if you want and come back in. I'm going to taste a couple of these spots here, just put maybe a little bit of a highlight, maybe just to give some depth to those clouds just a little bit. As you can see, I'm working pretty quickly here. You know, and of course, at home, you can take your time. You don't have to be in a hurry. You can just do this at your leisure, and that's the fun part of it, is being able to have that liberty to work at your own pace at home. So we've got these clouds up here. We want to try to do the same thing. Now, it'd be real easy to get all stressed about trying to do these identical. But the eye is going to automatically make those into the right, they're going to automatically see the reflection of those clouds in the water. Now, the other thing you can do, and when I'm doing a painting like this, I will turn the canvas upside down. The reason why is because that way I can utilize the same brush strokes that I use down below up above. So I like that, where I can fluff up the top of those clouds by just this circular motion. And it's a little harder when you're doing it upside down. So, you know, just keep that in mind. You don't have to work just in that with it in the right direction. You can turn it around. There's no law that says you can't. So I'm just adding in a little bit of those clouds that we had on the top, just representing those down below here. And again, I didn't take a whole lot of time to make sure that they're the perfect match of the cloud up above, but it's more, like I said, the eye will take and make that association. So you just need to make sure that it's just generally in the same spot. Now I've got that in place, and so now we can take and come back in, and let's do this little bit of a landmass here, and I'll show you how to do that. So this is pretty much going to be silhouetted across here, and so what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab some of that Payne's Gray, which is almost a black, and I'm just going to bring in some purple into it, and maybe just a little alizarin crimson. A lot of you know I like mixing my own black, because it just makes it a little richer color than if it's just straight out of the tube. So I'm just putting in just a band across here of that black. In fact, it actually looks, if you could see it up close here, it almost looks, it's got more of a purple hue to it. And so I'll reload up here. So now we've got just this background here of the skyline, and I want to take and just make just the indication maybe of just some distant trees that are on that bank over there on the other side. And I can do what I'm doing here. You can see I'm just tapping, nothing fancy. I'm just tapping the surface and turning my brush all the time, so that by turning the brush, I'm not having just one little pattern all the time. This just makes it, gives it a little bit more. You can see more of the sunrise or sunset that's coming through those branches or limbs or bushes, whatever you want to call it. And as you can see, I don't know if it picks up on the camera, but as I'm going across here, I'm picking up a lot of those colors that are underneath, and that really makes almost an instant highlight onto that painting, which is really cool, because it has picked up those yellows and it's picked up those reds, which is really cool. And over here, a lot of the lavenders that you're seeing in here as well. So I'm just kind of just a few little spots here, just adding in a little bit of character here. Now, again, same thing, what we talked about up above has to go down below. So I'll take and I will just flip the canvas back over. I'll reload back up with that Payne's Gray, the Dioxazine Purple, and the Alizarin Crimson. And so I just kind of, with my finger here, just kind of use that as a guide. So the top of those bushes would be up here. So we'll just kind of go like that. And again, we're just trying to roughly simulate what we've got in that up above. And the same way, I just grab my finger, kind of do a little thing here. So it'd be about here. So there's the top. And again, I'm just turning that brush around, working it back and forth, working it across the painting. People all the time go, oh, I can't, there's no way I could paint. I've always wanted to, but I couldn't do it. And my response is, I believe anybody can do this. And it's, you know, when little kids, they aren't afraid to jump in, give them a piece of paper and some colors, and they will just jump in and start creating immediately. But I think as adults, what's happened is we got kind of jaded and we think, oh, I can't do it. And we just kind of lose confidence in ourselves as we get older. And maybe somebody criticized your work when you were young, and so it's, you remember those things. But you're not doing this for anybody else but yourself. And if you happen to be lucky enough to be like some people where we've been able to make a living doing this and sell our artwork, that's great. But maybe that's not your goal. Maybe it's just, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily something you should use as a goal, but maybe, just maybe, it'll make your life a little more fulfilled and happy by doing it. And that's what this is all about, is learning that process. And so, don't be afraid to just step out and try something new. So as you can see, I just kind of, and that's a good way of looking at it too. You can kind of look at it almost like the old psychologists where they do the ink blobs. But you can see we've got kind of a nice little background there now. We've got the reflections down here in the foreground in the waters, and to make a little water line across there, I'll grab my palette knife, and I'm just going to grab just a little bit of that titanium white, and do just like we talked about in the past, just getting just a sliver of paint on that palette knife, and we can just take and just lightly work that along for a water line there in the background. And that quickly, with a few little, maybe across the top here, you've got yourself a nice little water scene reflecting the sky up above. And then, as a final kind of, before we call it a wrap for this episode, I'll show you how to do the water here. And this is something very, very easy. It's a little scary to start with because a lot of people get stressed over this, afraid they're going to mess it up. But with the big 3-inch brush, we're just going to take, and I'm just very, very, almost just letting it just glide across. You can see the way I'm holding it, have put very, very little, if any, pressure. It's basically just the weight of the brush that's on the surface. And I'll wipe that brush out really nice, scrub it out. And what we've done is we've pulled some of those colors downward, so it kind of has left some streaking across there. And then we do the exact same thing that we did there, only we just lightly run it now across. And by doing that, it gives all of the reflective properties that you would have, that you would see in the sheen on the water. And if there's some places that you don't like, you want to redo it a little bit, work it again. The thing that you've got to be careful with when you do that, when you rework it, is that you don't want to work it too much, because it's really easy to end up with a bunch of mud on your canvas because of mixing all of those colors. That's a really nice start to this little landscape, little sunrise. And so next week, if you'd like to join me in doing some of this painting at home this week, I would love for you to do that. And then next week, what we'll do is we'll put in some big trees that might be here on the opposing bank, and reflecting down into the water. I don't know, we may even put something down here in the foreground, a little bit of land mass that might be down there. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But at least that's a really good start, something that anybody can do. It's very, very simple to do. And I know that you can do it. It just takes a matter of grabbing some paint, grabbing a brush, and throwing down the paint. If it turns out like this, great. Yours is going to turn out different, guaranteed. But no matter what you do, it's going to be a blessing to you. It doesn't matter if anybody else, it's a blessing to them. It's a blessing to you. I want to leave you with this. We have so much guilt, I think, that we place on ourselves, so much pressure that we put on ourselves individually to succeed, either at work or business, in our home, our relationships, our family. And I think when things happen that maybe don't go quite the way you wanted to, or maybe what somebody else's expectations of you, you take on that burden on yourself. I want to tell you today, don't become so stressed and so guilted about the failures of your life. Everyone has had failures. But it's what you do with those failures, it's what you do with those things that make you develop so that the next time around you can succeed. Life is full of disappointments. Don't take on the guilt. Don't take on that shame. Don't take on that depression that is and oppression from the society and world around you. Forgive yourself. Be good to yourself. If you will forgive yourself, you can accomplish a lot. Don't carry that guilt with you. By forgiving yourself, you're much more able to forgive others around you and bless those around you. That's what this is all about, is encouraging one another. I've carried a lot of guilt through the years myself. I've carried a lot of things that I needed to forgive myself for. I've needed to go and ask other people for forgiveness. We need to let those things go that have held us down from enjoying the joy and the blessings and the happiness that we can have in our lives. So this week, be good to yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive those others around you, maybe that have harmed you, that have hurt you. You will feel a freeing that comes with that. Something that's going to make you feel better about yourself and will make others around you feel better as well. So this week, be good to yourself, be creative, forgive yourself, do something amazing. I look forward to seeing you next week here on Art and Soul. Thank you so much for joining me.